it's Monday night. Time for the quickfire news roundup. These are items that we didn't cover in detail on the Friday night news channel and stories that have broken over the weekend. Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On. And we open with Citroën. Citroën we did cover on Friday, but we hadn't got the final price. They were aiming for a price for the new updated Citroën E3 or 3E, never know which way round it goes. And they were projecting a price of €20,000. But it's now just launched, and for the UK it's launched at £22,000, which is just slightly more than I was hoping for. I was hoping it was going to be down nearer 20,000, but it is actually the third cheapest EV on sale in the UK today. Some sad news out of Geneva, which just shows the state of the car market. This is not EVs, this is cars. The Geneva Motor Show for 2025 has now been cancelled due to uncertainties in the car industry. This is not EV related, this is cars in general, petrol, diesel, hybrids and EVs, and a shift away from Europe. There are two other shows in Europe, that's Paris and Berlin, and Geneva's become a little bit superfluous. So they're closing that one down, and they've just opened up in Dubai. So shows a changing market. Well, BYD have just announced they are going to launch the Seagull in Europe, and while in China it's round about £10,000 equivalent, in the UK the price is going to be €20,000. The UK price has not yet been launched, but €20,000, that will equate to about £20,000 in the UK, which again makes it a very, very cheap car for a brand new car, undercutting one of the best-selling cars, the MG4, by a good £5,000 or £6,000. This will be interesting to see. Well, the Chinese are fighting back. They have seen the success of the markets in Europe and America. They are still buying cars there, while the Chinese market is fairly well saturated. So there's a big onslaught, and the big three, that's the Geely, the GWM and BYD, will be launching something like 20 brand new all EV models in the next year. Big onslaught into the European market. That's what's got the European Commission concerned and talking about tariffs. And talking about tariffs, the European Commission, headed by Ursula von der Leyen, has postponed its decision on whether to impose or how much to impose tariffs on Chinese imports. They claim it's to do with the European elections. They don't want EVs and tariffs to become a main focus for choosing their next parliament. But behind the scenes, people are saying they've found all sorts of problems with the terms of the tariffs, which are going to affect people like Renault, who are doing deals with China, and Citroën, Stellantis in particular. Now, not car related, but a real interest of mine is space. I know they landed on the moon, but that was over 50 years ago. NASA, unfortunately, they seem to have shot themselves in the foot. I was just checking some of the data recently. They've decided in the end to farm out all of their spaceships to subcontractors, let others make them, they'll just manage them. But if you pay someone like the United Launch Alliance, SpaceX, if you pay them, they're going to do their own thing, and they're going to use some of your money to develop a rocket that they themselves can use. Competition. Well, just looking at the figures, ULA, United Launch Alliance, was formed in 2006, and it has done to date 155 missions. SpaceX was founded in 2002, and to date they have done 285 launches. That's nearly twice as many. And of this year, this is only May now, well, just into June, and they've already accomplished 57 launches. And ULA, well, let's say their launch this year didn't get off the ground. They're going to try again in a couple of days. They say, I can't see it happening. Such a shame. Now, we've got an awful lot of questions about how many chargers we have in the UK, how many we need in the UK. My opinion is we are heading towards a point where we probably have more than we need already, just not using them right. But get an awful lot of comments down below from viewers in Australia. So thanks for joining us from Australia. Really good to have you on the channel. But it made me think, how many do you have in Australia? What's your situation over there? And I know you've got your own channels over there. One of them I like, Sam Evans. One of them I don't like, I'm not going to name it. But you probably have the equivalent of me over there. But I thought I'd do a little bit of digging. So let's have a look at a couple of facts. Australia population around about 26 million, UK round about 67 million. So we got nearly 3 times as many people in the UK. Now, I drive a Tesla, so I'm just going to do this for Tesla. Tesla supercharger locations in Australia, you have 83 of them. In the UK, we have 125. Well, that means that in Australia you have 1 supercharger location for every 300,000 population, and in the UK we have 1 supercharger station location for every 540,000 per population. And that means you've got twice as many as we have. But of course, you're very different to us. You have a little bit more space. Just doing a little bit of research, having a look at Northern Territories. Pick that one because in Australia, Northern Territories, the bit right up north, obviously, has got no superchargers whatsoever. And as far as I can find out, no chargers of any sort whatsoever. And it's 6 times the size of the UK. Wow! But the population of Northern Territory, believe it or not, is 245,000 people, roughly. And that's pretty much the same as the population of Stoke-on-Trent. And over there, they've got 2 Tesla superchargers. So your problem's obvious. You live too far apart. But on a serious note, it's not quite that simple, obviously. You do have a problem. And I would have to say, I'm a great EV fan, as most of you know. But if you live anywhere in the north of Australia, I wouldn't even look at having an EV at this stage. You're never, ever going to be able to get from one side of the state to the other, Northern Territories. You're certainly never going to be able to get from the northeast of Australia to the northwest of Australia. God knows how far that is. I don't even want to look it up. And that is probably not going to change, because to try and put in chargers for a population of 250,000 people who are scattered over an area 6 times the size of the UK, it's never going to happen. I think we're going to have a rethink of what will work in Australia. But the northern half of Australia, EVs are not working. The simple answer is it's not EVs. And I don't know what it's going to be. Even if they bring out something like a 1,000-mile range car, there are journeys you just won't be able to do in Australia, just purely down to cost and population density. Be interesting to find out what moves are going on to try and find an alternative to EVs. In the big cities, the Sydneys, the Melbournes, the Victorias, the Perth, there's not the same issue down there because you have a much denser population. It's worth putting in, or financially viable to put in, a decent number of chargers. But elsewhere, the country's just too big. If any of you have got any comments, suggestions or ideas what they can do in Australia, I'd love to hear it. But at the moment, you're going to have to stick with your petrol or diesel if you are living effectively outside the big cities. Well, we often have a go at China, and they have an appalling record for child slave labour, mistreating people of all sorts. But it's not just in China. Hyundai has just been charged in Alabama, in America, with child labour. There's a 13-year-old working 50 to 60 hours a week, and it's just been caught. 13-year-old working 50 to 60 hours a week. And apparently it's not just one factory, he moves between factories. What is going on? How could anybody in Hyundai think that's normal? In response to popular demand, Airbnb have now launched a really cheap deal for owners, for the landlords, of Airbnb properties to install EV chargers. Apparently it's becoming a much more popular filter on the search engine, and they're now doing a deal for the owners. But it is something I've already been doing for some time. When I go away, if I am staying in Airbnb or a hotel, I will always look first for ones which have EV charging, and preferably those that have free EV charging. Well, over in the States, and it might well come here as well in the UK, we have Jeep, and they're bringing out their very first all-electric EV four-wheel drive Jeep. This is an off-roader. And just looking at it, they're announcing that they're going to be launching this in the $25,000 price range. So it competes with things like a Dasher, the Dasher Spring, there's a Toyota Yaris Cross, and amazing to find out that the cheapest Jeep, petrol or diesel, on sale is $27,000. Now, we touched on EV tariffs, whether to have them or not. That's been postponed for the moment, but we've just had a report from China as to the impact those tariffs might have if they are imposed at the rates that they're suggesting. And the figure coming out of China is quite a startling figure. They predict that if they vote for these tariffs and if they come in at the rate at which they're negotiating, they will see a 25% drop in EV exports from China into Europe, and that equates to round about $4 billion lost. It's an absolutely staggering sum. And you can understand why China is a little bit against them. So Beijing at the moment is talking about retaliating, and they're going to put a 25% tariff onto Mercedes and BMW cars. And that's going to have a big impact because Mercedes and BMW are already starting to struggle trying to sell cars at all into China. Well, we covered the Renault and Volkswagen split in the main news on the Friday, but just a quick update. Since then, Renault have announced that they're going ahead, but not on their own like Volkswagen are doing. They're going ahead to launch a €20,000 EV, working with the Chinese. They haven't named who it's going to be, but they are talking about now introducing or launching the Renault Twingo. This is a nice small, used to be a petrol car, it's now apparently going to be an EV, and they're talking about making that in Slovenia. General Motors seem to be, well, does anyone know what she's doing? Mary Barra, the CEO. The most successful car they've ever had, the most successful EV, is the Chevy Bolt EV, and that, when it was selling, was priced around about $27,000, $28,000, and that would have qualified for the IRA, about another $7,500 reduction. Well, that's it for this roundup. Hope you've enjoyed this format. It's a quick fire one. Don't go into an awful lot of detail. If there's anything that needs further detail, we'll put it into the Friday night fully detailed roundup of all the news. So for now, thanks for watching. I'm Dave.